Hello everyone, how are you doing? It's Amanda. Today is the 15th of April 2020. I think I got the date wrong yesterday. I thought it was the 13th, but it was actually the 14th. So I missed a day. So we're at the 15th. I'm just having a coffee here and I think I will just tell you a little bit of the there's a few things I want to talk about today and we might pull some cards as well. See how we go. Beautiful sunny day here. It's so funny. There's a lot of people, when I'm using my other camera and the shot is that way, you're seeing the roof. You're seeing the roof out of my window of the neighbour's roof. And a few people are saying, do I live near the mountains? I love that. I would love to live by the mountains. But no, I don't. It's just it's a triangular roof that you're seeing. But I love the fact that you think it's the mountains. Okay. Somebody said, do I live near the mountains and the sea? Well, I live near the sea, so I can say yes to that bit. But no, not the mountains. Although it's interesting, it's not just one person. There's quite a few people who are talking about this triangular shape and what is it out of the window. It just makes me think of the tetrahedron, which is a platonic solid. And that links into the element of fire, and it links into helping you to stand more in your own power, solar plexus energy. So those of you that are sort of fixating on this triangular shape, I think you're honing into that solar plexus energy actually. So it's very interesting. The more that you look at sacred geometry, the more that you actually start to see it in nature, because it's in nature everywhere. So I think that's what's happening. I think people are Metatron's drawing your attention to shapes, and it's all good. So today, what are we going to say? Oh, we'll just say this. A few people are asking about my bowl and where did I get my bowl? As you can see, it's not the most attractive thing you've ever seen in your life, but it is completely and utterly functional. It's a stone bowl. It's very heavy. It was bought for the purpose that I use it, which is basically burning sage, as I did in yesterday's video. And the fire yesterday was quite intense. So actually the bowl did get quite warm on the bottom, but not to a point where it was dangerously hot or anything like that. I think I bought it, in fact, I know where I bought it. I bought it in Glastonbury in a shop. I can't remember what the shop was called. Might have been called Stone Age. Might be wrong there. Those of you that know Glastonbury and you know the high street, there is a little sort of courtyard that goes, and then there's an archway. You go through that and there's a shop on the left-hand side which is full, it's like an apothecary. It's full of essential oils and herbs that you can buy and candles. And I'm pretty sure I found it in there. The brand might be Star Child, but whether they still sell them or not, I have no idea. But that's where my bowl came from, because people keep asking about my bowl. Oh, it does. It says Star Child on the bottom. Okay, there you go. Star Child, Glastonbury. I guess it would cost a fortune to post, but maybe they still have got them if they're still open. I mean, the high street, let's just take it away from Glastonbury now down to the high street and what's happening to our high streets. When this is all over and we go back to the new normal, whatever that is, the high street is going to have been transformed. But really, there's a death process happening in our high streets. The town where I am, the big department stores have all gone. There's one that's still standing, but I can't imagine it will still be standing after all of this. The clothes shops in particular are closing just everywhere, particularly women's clothing. A lot of the big brands here, and I suspect they're not just British brands, they are brands that might be in other countries as well, are going into administration. Cath Kidston, I think on the news last night they were talking about Warehouse. There was another really good brand. But, it'll be interesting to see what's left after all of this. And I feel as though there is a big call for us to think about what we consume. That's an obvious. and not to maybe go back to our old ways. It was funny, yesterday I was in the supermarket and I bumped into, at social distance, somebody who came to me as a client actually years ago. She's still a friend, don't hardly ever see her. But she was in the supermarket and we had this rather bizarre conversation, you know, apart. We were like shouting across the aisle at each other because I could hardly hear her because there was all the humming of the refrigerators and everything. She had a mask on and she was mentioning something along the lines of, you know, maybe having bought, I think it was a daughter, having bought cheap fashion in the past, very much like my girls have done, one of them in particular, and, you know, not wanting to go back to that. So I think the fashion industry in particular is going to be revolutionized by this. And I'm really wanting to support those brands which are good ethical brands, because there are good ethical brands out there. And so, you know, it's like the brands that we really want to still be there afterwards. I think we've really got to try and support them if we can afford to support them, of course. I've always liked Fat Face, which I don't know if that's just a UK brand, but, you know, they're good clothes. They last forever until you actually get so bored of seeing them year after year. It's like eventually you give them away because they just don't, they don't seem to ever tear or get holes in or fade. They're brilliant. So I think Fat Face is a good brand. But anyway, yeah, shout out to the good brands that are out there, the ethical brands, the ones that aren't just producing cheap tat that people buy for a season and then throw away. I think those days are gone. But I think there's going to be a lot of clothes banks opening, very much like food banks, is what I'm being told here. And maybe they already exist, but, you know, it's not charity shops that I'm talking about. These are clothes banks where you can go and you can actually pick up a bag of secondhand clothes if you can't afford to buy them yourself. Right now, all of the charity shops here, of course, are closed. I have got bags of stuff that I've been sorting through, ready to go to the charity shops when they reopen. But, you know, I think there's something in that. Clothes banks and food banks is going to be a big need for both now and increasingly. I was watching the news last night and I only watched the headline bits of it and then I sort of just switch it off because it's too depressing, to be perfectly honest, at the moment. I don't want to be ingesting that energy, but I do want to know what's going on. And there was some doom and gloom forecast, particularly linked into the UK, but I'm sure it relates to other countries around the world, talking about the recession that potentially can come on the back of what we're going through now. And they're predicting for the UK it's going to be worse than the Great Depression of the 1930s. And, you know, we're never going to see, it's just like this juggernaut that's heading towards us all. I'm not sensing it. I'm not buying into that timeline. I'm actually sensing when this starts to recede and we start to be able to go back to our sort of normal lives again and shops are open, businesses start to open back up, I'm feeling as though it's going to be very divided, because there are of course going to be people that have lost their jobs, that have got not a lot of money, if any, and they're going to really need to be helped. But I'm also seeing there will still be people that have got money. And those people that have still got money are going to be going on, I don't want to say spending spree, because that implies it's back to the old ways. I feel as though people are going to be investing their money in better ways, but they will be investing it in, you know, whether it's your favourite restaurant, your local shop on the high street. There's some great boutiques near me who I would want to go back and I would want to support. So it's like choosing very carefully where you're spending your money, but equally, if you've got your money, spending your money. I think there's going to be actually this moment where everyone just goes, oh my God, I've been locked up. You know, I haven't been able to do anything, go anywhere. Actually, I am going to book the holiday. I am going to buy whatever I need to buy, whether it's plants for the garden or anything else. And I think we're going to see, I don't think we're going to see this horrendous scenario that is being painted. I think the economy is going to bounce back a lot quicker than people think it is. And it's going to be on the back of people who are going to be investing in their high streets, their local businesses. But, you know, what's going to be left? But equally, there are going to be the people that haven't got anything. And it feels as though this is a wake-up call for the ones left standing at the end of it to really reach out and support those people in need. So absolutely, food banks, clothes banks, any other resources that are needed, people are going to be, I think people are going to rise to the challenge. I mean, I'm an optimist by nature, but I don't feel as though I've got my head in the clouds here. I really feel as though a lot of people have had big wake-up calls to, yeah, they want to get their economy, you know, their national economy back on its feet, and they're going to be doing what they can to support that, which means you've got to spend to a degree, but spending in the right way. But equally, it won't be at the expense of people that have nothing. I think what I'm seeing is a scenario where people maybe spend on themselves or their home, for example, but then they also put more into the charity box than they once did. And I think that will be, again, that's almost like the middle road, isn't it? It's the middle road. We're back to that again, rather than just like this, whoa, you know, mass consumption again, once we're able to do it. That's not the answer. That just leads us back into inequality. It's like spending in a way that helps the businesses that you want to support, helps the economy, but then you're also giving more than you have before to people that are in need, okay? Whether that's your local hospital, whether it's, well, any person that's in need. So, that being said, how do we get onto all of that? I don't know. But yeah, in a nutshell, I'm not buying into this total doom and gloom scenario in terms of Great Depression coming. I'm not sensing it. I'm sensing we bounce back quicker, and please God, that is so. Let's pull a card, shall we, in terms of the economy. We know the economy, of course, is going to be affected. Of course it is. But show me how the economy responds short, medium and long term, okay? So short term, how the economy, worldwide economy, is responding. The Knight of Pentacles. Medium term, how is the worldwide economy? The Three of Cups. Sorry, my nose is going. Oh, which always means I'm onto something. Long term, world economy. Got two cards coming up. 10 of Wands and the Ace of Swords. Bottom of the pack, the 8 of Wands. They're all good cards long term. Ace of Swords is a fresh new start for the economy. 10 of Wands is a lot of work, a lot of work that needs to be done. It's going to take a lot of work to get us all back up onto our feet economically. And it's going to feel like quite a burden at times. But if we share that burden, it's not going to be as bad as it needs to be. Teamwork is going to be required, okay? Looking after each other, looking after those in our families that might need help to get them back on their feet as well if you have surplus money. The 8 of Wands is showing motivation, direction, lots of positive new energy coming in for the future. I think those aren't bad cards. That's long term. Short term, the Knight of Pentacles. What do we mean by that then? The Knight of Pentacles. Oh, okay. This is about being helped. This is about being helped. So these are the governments around the world that are actually helping out small businesses and people who need it. And in every country that's different. Okay, I know in America there are paychecks coming. I don't know if it's a once-off payment or whether it might happen again. In the UK, there's help for businesses, a lot of help for businesses actually. I can't speak about other countries, but I know that many countries are rolling out sort of care packages. Is it enough? Probably not, but there is an offer of help here. It's as though this knight has found this coin, which he is then offering to the people. The truth is that governments always find the money for war, don't they? And for the first time in a long time, they've actually been able to dig into the coffers and find some money to help out the people on the street. So that's what that one is saying to me. This card came up before. I think it was in the UK reading. This card came up in the UK reading, and I was talking about, you see, this is somebody who's in the field, and they're ploughing the field with oxen and like old traditional technologies. And there was a message which was linked into help coming from maybe more rural places into cities. I was actually talking to my mum on the phone just now, and we were just talking about various bits and bobs. And one thing that's happening here in the UK is that there's a plane arriving today, I think it's today, from Romania. And there's a whole plane full of Romanian people having to be flown in to the UK to help pick the crops that are in the field, because they can't find enough people in the UK, supposedly, that want to do the work. And there's part of me which is like, well, why can't the Brits, get off their backsides and get out into the fields if that's what's needed? But, actually, thank you to the people that are flying in to do the job, because if the crops aren't picked, then the shelves are going to be empty in the shops. So there's this thing about pulling together coming through with this card, pulling together, countries pulling together. People pulling together, different parts of the country pulling together, and the offer of help. I'd still want one more card though for the economy. Economy right now. Judgment, yeah, judgment. And then the Lovers. This is choice point time. We're in a choice point time. Do we go back to our old ways of spend, 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 spend? The truth is that a lot of these wealthy Western countries, including the UK, including USA, are actually heavily in debt. We're heavily in debt. We owe billions, certainly if not billions, certainly millions. But yet there is this illusion that we are terribly wealthy. Well, yes, we are compared to many other areas around the world in terms of standard of living, but it's on borrowed money. So here we've got a judgment call on that, a choice point. The Lovers is choice. Two cards which are about decision and choice. Are we going to go back to the old ways? There's also the Page of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck. And I love this card as well, because this to me is showing somebody who's got more wealth and he's giving it to, for want of a better expression, the little man on the street, giving it to somebody who's in greater need. And he looks very happy to receive it. Okay. I also feel as though this person here, who almost looks a bit like a leprechaun type energy, he represents Mother Earth for me as well. So it feels as though there's also this thing about, I'm hearing the word not raping the land, not raping the earth for this over-inflated illusion that we're living in economies that are actually robust and very strong. So this feels as though part of the judgment and part of the decision that we need to make as a species is linked to Are we going to honour the earth in the decisions that we make going forward when we start to consume again? You know? Or are we just going to keep buying tat, you know, that comes at the expense of whether it's, I don't know, child labour in the Far East, or it's taking from Mother Nature things that ultimately we don't really need? Are they essential? That word essential seems to be important. We're all talking about essential workers at the moment. Who are these essential workers? Well, we know who they are. But equally, what is essential to us in our life going forward? And think about that now in terms of consumption. What is essential and what isn't? And I think the truth is, when we really look at it, a lot of what we have been consuming wasn't essential. I like the medium term card though. That backs up what I'm feeling, which is that of course, there's going to be a degree of slump. There can't not be, you know, with businesses having been shut down for months, people not consuming for months. Of course, it's going to have a knockdown effect. But this is the card of celebration. This is the card of reunion. This is the card of happy times. This is what I'm feeling. I honestly feel for those that have got the money, or even those that haven't got lots of money, I still feel as though there's going to be a bit of a party. There's going to be a celebration when this is all over. And people are going to come together. And it's like they're going to want to celebrate. And celebration brings with it spending to celebrate, okay? They're not celebrating with 3 glasses of water, okay? They're having a party. And I think that will help to really lift the nations. But it will be a party, Metatron's saying, where everybody brings something. So the analogy is, rather than just one house, for example, in the street, having the cost of holding the party, it will be everybody brings something. I actually think there will be lots of street parties when this is all over as well. We had a street party in 1977 for the Queen's Silver Jubilee. I don't think I've lived through any other street party. I think, no, I won't say that. That's contentious. You're all going to say now, what was she about to say? Well, okay, I will say it. Just spit it out. It was a light-hearted comment, but it will be one that some people probably take the wrong way. I have lived in both the north of England and the south of England. And my gut feel is that a lot of northerners have a better idea of probably doing street parties and having a good time in that respect. I think sometimes us southerners, and I am one of them, we can be a little bit more reserved. And it's quite funny, just chatting to my neighbour over the road, and he was saying, you know, how are you doing? And I said, fine. He said, is business affected? I said, no, not too bad. I'm carrying on. And he mentioned that the area where I live in the UK, apparently it's one of the least infected parts of the country for the number of cases of the virus. There's not as many cases here. And I said to him, I said, well, why is that then? And he said, we were having a joke. He said, well, it's because we're all so compliant here, you know? And also there's a lot of, there is a lot of retired people. So he sort of made this joke and he said, you know, at the end of the day, my life hasn't changed that much. It's just, I joke and say, it just comes with rubber gloves now. I thought that was classic because, you know, there's something in that. There's something in, you know, having been, as I say, I class myself as a southerner more than a northerner, even though I've got northern roots and I've got family who still live up north. I'm more of a southerner, but I can see that sometimes in the south we can be a little bit more standoffish and a little bit more aloof. But I'm seeing there's going to be street parties even in the south as well. So it's going to be great. We're going to be going into that energy and it will help to lift everybody, okay? It'll help to lift everybody. Okay, that's enough on that for now. I wanted just to mention one other thing, and it might seem a rather random thing, but I don't think it is random. I wanted to talk about hair. I'm being serious. Hair. So we know that hair, I'm aware, obviously some people are bald and don't have hair, okay? Nothing you can do about that if that is the case. I'm talking to people that do have hair. There's a lot of spiritual wisdom, down the years, I mean, if you think back to the Bible, Samson, you know, they cut off his hair and he lost his strength. So there's something linked into hair being a symbol of strength. I've talked about this before, and somebody wrote some really brilliant stuff, which I've now completely forgotten what it was, but it was something linked into, no, I can't even go there. Maybe you'll rewrite it. Something linked into the chemical constitution of hair, and hair basically carrying our story, our DNA. I guess it does, doesn't it, if you think about it? Because when you have an allergy to something, you can send off a sample of your hair, can't you? As well as a sample of your blood. So your hair must carry an awful lot of information. Your hair also shows the state of you in terms of, is it healthy? Is it shiny? Is it not? You know, is it greasy? Is it dry? Whatever. But at the moment, of course, none of us are able to go to the hairdressers. So our hair is just getting longer and longer and longer. I think the guys are probably having a bit of a worse time, because men by nature have very short hair, usually, not always, of course. And so you see it more. You see it when it starts to grow, it's more noticeable. If you've got longer hair like me, you can maybe get away with it a bit. You can tie it up. I will be tying my hair up. But yeah, we're all growing our hair. We're not able to get it cut at the moment. Certainly not in the UK, you're not. So that for me is saying that it's this energy of Samson. It's like our hair's getting longer. There's something to do with it's bringing some strength in. It's definitely bringing some strength in. There's also something about seeing people in their natural state. I'm not talking nudity. I'm talking hair. I'm being serious. 1 minute. Hold it together, Amanda. So I colour my hair. It's very obvious I colour my hair. I'm not actually that grey, but I've always coloured my hair ever since I've been in my 20s. I've been every colour under the sun, from blonde to black to all shades of brown to red. And I really like the red that I usually now have in my hair. But of course, I can't get it done, and I'm not going to do it myself. So you are going to see my hair just grow out, and I have got a little bit of grey that's coming through here. There's a few little bits up here, but it will be interesting to see it, because it's like, actually, yeah, just don't be frightened of that. Don't be frightened of the few bits of grey hair that are coming through. It's actually who you are. So I think you should view it a bit like, I'm hearing like it's like a, what's that, magical mystery tour, you know? See what your hair wants to do. Your hair is actually an expression of you. And if it goes completely wild and bonkers, like mine is going to, I know mine's going to go wild and bonkers, great. You know, just sort of feel into that. Let it do it. Tune into that wild, almost unabandoned part of yourself that actually is what your hair is doing, because you have that within you as well. So yeah, I just think there's something in this with regard to hair and not being able to control it, allowing it just to do what it wants to do, and it's an expression of you. And I know people that are, you know, getting the clippers out. There's somebody over the road actually who's his wife's shaved his head more or less. John would no way let me anywhere near his hair. I don't think I'd even want to do it, to be honest. It's like, it's very personal. Your hair is very personal, isn't it? Hairdressers, I've said this before, people that work in your hair, they're here, they're in your crown chakra, they're tampering with your crown chakra. You need to be with people who really respect this holy space, actually, that is around us, around our head. So look after your hair, you know, don't worry about it. And I think there's a journey we're on here with hair. What was that musical? Wasn't there a musical called Hair? That goes back a long time, and I don't even remember what it was about, but anyway, I just think it's a bit mean that you can see me deteriorating via every video in terms of my hair, but I can't see you. Right. Anything else I wanted to say today? No, I think I'll just pull a Metatron card, shall I? Oh, I was just shuffling these cards again, and the same two came up. Okay, we have a choice. We have a choice. Our world has a choice. Do we want to go back to the old ways, or don't we? We want to be firing our arrows off into a new direction in terms of new earth, in terms of how we consume, what we consume, when we consume, and the motivation behind it. But I'm sticking to what I'm feeling, which is I'm feeling there's a bounce that comes, you know, in terms of the economy. There's actually a bounce that comes. I think it's going to surprise the economists who are just painting us into a corner in terms of, oh my God, you know, as I say, greatest depression since the 1930s. Having said that, I think we might have to be quite creative in how we go about moving into the new. I mean, I've got youngsters in my home, so, you know, it's a very difficult time to probably be a young person who hasn't even got their first job or their first foot on the ladder. And then all of a sudden we're in this scenario where everything's closed, there aren't any opportunities. But it's like, think outside the box. I think there'll be a lot of people setting up their own businesses, coming together, working together as communities, different people with different talents and different skills working together, creating anew. So try not to be too scared about it. And I know that's a big ask because it's money, and money is the thing that people get frightened of, because without money, it's like, how do I feed myself? How do I clothe myself? But I truly feel as though we just have to trust. We have to trust. And I think there's going to be a middle way. And I think a lot of people at the upper echelons of society who have a lot are starting to wake up more to the role that they need to perform going forward in terms of helping others. Right. Family. Yeah, I've got the card of family again. We are all one family, okay? We are all one family. And it's as though we're all starting to realise that. And in a family, everybody helps each other out. But families also come together for celebrations. Families also come together during times of difficulty and pain. Families are there for each other. So this new earth that's being birthed, we are being called to be there for each other. Must just say before I say goodbye to you, some of you noticed yesterday that I pulled the, we got the red card, didn't we? We got this card yesterday. And I hadn't appreciated I was sitting in front of the painting, because, yeah, that's the original one. This is the red card from the Metatron deck. I love this. Anyway, that's enough from me, I think, for today. Have a good one. Oh, there was another subject I was going to talk about, but I feel like I need to give it more space. I think we need to be talking about the elderly, and there's a real crisis going on, certainly here in the UK, with regard to the number of people who are just passing in care homes. And it's sweeping through these care homes. And I'm sure UK is not the only example of that. And that they've been saying that the figures haven't even been in the official statistics. They haven't even been recording their deaths as linked to coronavirus. And it's almost as though, how disrespectful is that? It's like, do their lives not matter? Again, I was talking to my mum this morning, and she was she worked in care homes for decades. She was actually a very, very good nurse, and she was very caring and very loving. And there's a funny story, actually. When I was about 13, you have to have like a week's work experience, you know, in a place of employment. And I had no confidence at 13, so I certainly didn't want to go and stand in a shop or do anything. So my mum said, okay, well, come and work for me, you know, in the care home, because she was a manager of it. And I was hopeless. I was absolutely hopeless. I wasn't built to be able to do that job. You know, mum ran a bath for this old woman and said, okay, right, you can help me bath her then, Amanda. And I'm like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. So I've always had the utmost respect for people that can do that type of work. And, you know, let's be perfectly honest about it, who can wipe people's backsides and clear up mess. And, you know, I went through, mum worked for many, many homes, and I have memories of the summer holidays, and my brother and I would, because mum didn't have a childminder or anything like that, we would have to go and sit in the staff room of these places. There was one that was called the Home of Compassion. And it was actually, I'll tell you a little bit about it because it's quite interesting. It no longer exists, but it was the Home of Compassion. And it also had, it used to be a place where there were nuns, basically. Had a very, very interesting history. It was also haunted. There was a corridor in it that was very, very haunted. And my brother and I, when we were brave, we would sometimes go down this corridor. And there was one particular part of the corridor where literally it just went icy cold. And I was younger than 13 here. I was, under the age of 10. We probably weren't meant to be down this particular corridor. But anyway, you know what kids are like. They go off exploring. You don't just want to stay in the staff room. So, but I always remember it was like an icy cold. It was a dark energy that was down there. I don't know what the hell had happened down there, but there was something very not of God. But anyway, the care home itself was a loving place. Mum tried to make it so, and she was a star there. But yeah, the sights that I saw as a child there as well, these people who just were mentally impaired and, well, totally, dementia basically. And just, what am I trying to say? The care workers trying their best to retain the dignity is the word I'm trying to find, the dignity for these people who didn't know what they were doing anymore and who would go and just, mess themselves in the corridor or something, and then the care worker would be the one to clear it up. And I remember looking at these people and thinking, my God, you're angels. Just angels. And there are people now doing that job, and they're seeing these people that they've been caring for and trying to help them live in dignity dying, and it's as though people don't care. We should all care. We should all care about our elderly, and they shouldn't just be a statistic that's written off. So should we just say a little prayer for them? Let's just say a little prayer for our elderly. It's interesting, I talked about this straight after showing you that painting of the elder. He's the elder. He's the elder. And we're going to say a prayer with Archangel Sandalphon, because Sandalphon takes our prayers to heaven. So Sandalphon, hear our prayer. Please be with the care workers in the nursing homes around the world who are doing their best in very difficult circumstances to look after the elderly, who will be confused, who will be lonely, who may very well be sick. Please bring in God's energy to strengthen those that care for them, to give comfort to those afflicted, for governments to wake up to the need of these people in our society, for them to not be forgotten, but for them to be embraced as elders who deserve respect, for the people that they were before, for example, dementia set in and took away their memories, took away their identity sometimes. You, dear God, still see them as souls, infinitely beautiful. Help us as a society to see them thus also, and to honour all they have been, all that they are, and all that they will be. bring in the blue ray of peace, the pink ray of love, the green ray of healing, and the purple flame of transmutation. We give up this problem that feels so huge for so many, and we ask you to step in and intervene. So be it, and it is so. It is so. Okay. We're going to end with sunrise, new dawn. We'll breathe in the yellow ray 3 times. Sunrise, new dawn, new beginnings. Breathing in yellow. Breathing out yellow. Breathing in sunlight. Breathing out sunlight. Breathing in sunlight. Breathing out sunlight. 2 more times. Breathing in sunlight. Breathing out sunlight. Breathing in sunlight. Breathing out sunlight. Bringing that sun straight into the core of your being and all around you. Be that. Okay, guys. Much love. Take care of you. Namaste. Bye-bye for now.